Welcome to Finding Monster Hwaet, the show about finding monsters. Hwaet?
Hwaet. In this part of the country, I'm known as Adam.
And in this part of the country, we're going to an entirely different country called Denmark, and also called England. It's the most famous poetic connection between Denmark and England. Beowulf. There are no others. Sorry, Hamlet, you get out of here. Go. Shoo. Go talk to your ghost dad.
Yeah. Nice try, Hamlet. We're playing with the big boy.
Playing with the big boys now. I haven't even seen Prince of Egypt. I don't even know why I make references to it.
You have no right to judge me on movies I haven't finished.
Speaking of that, we're doing Beowulf. We're asking ourselves, wait a minute, what's Grendel's mom got going on?
Right. Yes, there are three big old beasties that Beowulf boy battles in this... I ran out of B words. In this epic poem.
Oh, man. I was rooting for you.
Well, I was surprised. I got I got three extra ones that I didn't expect.
I'm impressed. So, Adam, as we've discussed before, we have kind of pretty much the same education and background. We're not a diverse podcast.
No, yeah. So I first heard Beowulf in 7th, 8th grade. As if you recall, our lesson plan included an ancient newspaper that cited the incident, probably from the time Beowulf was written.
Mm. Oh yeah, we had to write a newspaper report about Beowulf. What is that assignment? What, is that supposed to be hip?
we read it on a newspaper.
Oh,
you recall this ancient fabric that was passed to us that had the date from maybe 30 years before we were born.
Mm.
And this basically brown and griddle paper, this tome that showed the story of Beowulf, and we listened to it on one of those giant ancient stone tablets as it spun around in circles with a needle.
A cassette?
Nope, older than that.
A phonograph.
Yeah, it was a phonograph.
A wax cylinder. Our
teacher was cranking it as we listened. So that happened in 7th and 8th grade.
Mrs. Hennessy's got some ripped wrists.
We explored it more in 11th grade, which Mr. Metz, who had, I recall many of his comedy bits about it. Very, very good storytelling.
So Beowulf is an Old English epic poem. It is
the oldest English
epic
poem.
The oldest recovered or known writing in Old English is the epic poem Beowulf, recorded some point between 975 and 1025 CE, so within 25 years of the end of the first millennium CE. And
that's it was an oral tradition for a lot longer than that, surely.
Yes, yeah. Especially because the version that we have written down is heavily... it shows heavy evidence of Christian tampering with a more Anglo-Saxon pagan source material, which itself is pretty closely tied to Norse mythology.
Right. So it's a bit of a battling of religions in a single work.
It's a religion fight. Adam, did you re-listen to the poem?
Immortal combat. Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm going to take that as a no.
Immoral combat. Wait, one more time. Moral combat. I did not listen to the poem again, but I know it's pretty well by heart. I will recite it to you as they did around the old fire.
All right, go. If you don't do it, I'm going to punch your spine apart in Immortal Kombat.
I died. I'm sorry, but my spine is no more.
Finish him.
Yes. Well, let's surround the context of Grendel's mom.
Yeah, let's talk about let's summarize the Beowulf poem 5 minutes into the episode.
Boy, oh boy, that King Hrothgar, he knows how to throw a party, doesn't he?
He really does. He also has like 5 grandpas, but let's not get into that part.
Yeah, he made this big ol' mead hall called Hwaet.
Yeah.
And it is the place to be.
It is absolutely the place to be. People are starting their epic poems there with the word Hwaet, which, I mean, I feel like the language nerds are going to get mad at us, but...
if we keep doing that.
Yeah, we just keep using Hwaet as, like, a pun for, like, similar sounding words, like wait and right. It's...
You know, I like puns. It's just when you punch a word a lot to make it fit something else.
Right, as we were discussing before the recording. But Hwaet means, it's just kind of like a word, like an interjection to get the attention of an audience. And the way that my version, my translation of the poem translated is, so. Shield was a great king from such and such place. And it's like, whoa, just very casual, Seamus.
Yeah. Before we zoom in too closely, it should be said what we're talking. I want to quick point out that Beowulf is a monster slayer.
Yeah,
and he fights 3 monsters in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Grendel, Grendel's mother, and a dragon.
Right.
So back to King Hrothgar.
Back to King Hrothgar. King Hrothgar was partying in his crazy house. Not a house, a hall, a mead hall full of mead, which is like honey whiskey. And he was hanging out, having a good time, making lots of noise with his pals and his friends and such, and his queen, Wilthiow. And guess what? Pissed off a swamp monster, like you do.
Yeah. There was a knock on the door, but it wasn't a knock, it was a fist, and it came through the door, and it threw the doors open, and it attacked everyone. It was Grendel. It's
a giant, or like a large sort of monster, we'll get into the exact identification of it, who killed 30 men, and just kind of wrecked the place, and then bounced, and it was because he was annoyed by all of the super loud merrymaking that was going on. Which, yeah, no, I was in college.
Yeah, real Grinch.
Huge Grinch complex.
Yeah, right. I'm sure he was just lying in his bed with his earplugs in. And it's like, eventually you gotta say something to your sweet mates.
Guys, I have to study. Blah, blah. Grendel.
I have a final tomorrow.
Or maybe he sounds like Crispin Glover. We'll get into that. Then, obviously, Hrothgar puts the kibosh on any further partying. Just kidding. He does it like 3 more times, and Grendel keeps coming. And he just keeps coming, and eventually he puts, like, kind of the kibosh on partying. And he says, okay, everybody wears...
Every time you say that, I think it's like a meat dish that they served back then.
Kibosh. Right, the famous Danish dish, kibosh.
You said a fact. I don't know what you want to say.
So, King Hrothgar forbade further partying, and he was like, okay, everybody wear these masks so Grendel doesn't recognize you. Everybody stay 6 feet apart. We're gonna just spread out his DPS so that he can't take out too many of you at once.
Then this guy Beowulf rolls around, and he's like, whoa, man, why we stop partying?
Yeah, one of many heroes to come around and just get their complete butt handed to them. The last one to show up is Beowulf.
He's like, whoa, I bet I can take this Grendel dude.
And you know what? I'm gonna do it without any armor or weapons, and I'm just gonna wrestle him. And everybody's like, wild, yeah, cool, all right, because they're weird.
I'm trying to think of an ancient Danish version of Suns Out, Guns Out. But boy, oh boy, there ain't no suns and there ain't no guns.
Swords out.
Swords out, boards out, and then he does a kickflip.
That works. Swords out, boards out. So they just. You know what? I mixed something up. They don't shut down the Heorot until very late, but
yeah, all the other countries did, but they're in denial. They're like, what? It's fine.
Oh god. There aren't enough swamp monsters in the world to solve this problem. Anyway, nobody say anything about draining anything, please. Okay, good. Whew. Stop myself.
The only thing I'm draining is this mug of Horn of Ale.
All right, so wait. Grendel eventually comes back after another night of partying on the part of the Danes and the Geats, of which Beowulf is one. That's one of his party. And Beowulf starts fighting Grendel, and sure enough, he wrestles him with no armor, no weapons, and tears off Grendel's arm after a crazy fight. And Grendel, who is only really identified as a descendant of Cain.
Yeah, is certainly, a biblical addition.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of, just really going off about God and hell and stuff, and kind of, making Beowulf into an English language new book of the Bible, I guess, because at this point in history, Latin was kind of the only text that that a Bible could be written in, and Latin wasn't understood by the common people. So by making this Jesus superhero called Beowulf, that's kind of a consolidation of a kind of assimilating the native Britons into a Christian authoritarian regime. Anyway, Grendel's arm bleeds off and he dies.
Yeah, he just... and that I've always been surprised by that aspect of the story. Because Beowulf, he smacks down. I gotta say, he'll deliver the final blow, but the first monster that he fights, he, just lets bleed out.
Right. Yeah, no, he does just kind of, let it bleed out and run off, and he just assumes that it dies, and it does. This was before there were any expectations to subvert.
Right, yeah, you're correct. But the awesome second act twist is that Grendel had a mom.
Grendel has a mom, and specifically it's foreshadowed with Hrothgar saying, oh man, if this monster is so terrible, then there must be a woman out there that gave birth to him, and if she's still alive, she must be even worse. And it's that's a weird leap of logic, Hrothgar, but okay. And then they just have a party to celebrate that Grendel's dead. And guess what happens?
Grendel's mom shows up to a wreck shop.
Second wave, baby!
Yeah, she, is very upset with the death of her one-armed son.
No, Grendel has gone off and died somewhere, and, not somewhere, specifically Grendel's mom's lair. He went back to his mom's house to die, which is arrestingly similar to my current state of affairs. But anyway...
Yeah, so Beowulf, we didn't mention Beowulf's Gary Oak.
Oh, yeah, Unferth.
So Unferth was all you can't do that, Beowulf. What are you talking about?
You can't do that. You lost a swimming contest to your cousin. And
yeah, smell you later.
Yeah, and everybody's making such a big deal about this fucking swimming contest. Everybody must have been so bored back in old-timey times.
It was just... It's because he was swimming through an unauthorized email server. Mm. They just really gave him a hard time about it.
Anyway, so Grendel's mom comes, murders everything, pretty much while Beowulf is asleep, takes the arm and goes home. And at this point, I have written in my notes, fuck yes, queen, iconic, go off.
Yeah, she didn't do anything wrong.
She did nothing wrong. I mean...
Grendel's mom did nothing wrong.
Grendel's mom did nothing wrong. Oh, God, that does not fit the beat at all. But, also at this point, it's mentioned that Grendel's mom is implied to be older than Cain, which complicates the matter of what exactly Grendel is. We'll get into that.
Alright, so, yes, we'll, Uthferth, right?
Unferth.
That's the name?
Yeah, Unferth.
Unferth was all Beowulf, I'm sorry. You were totally right about Grendel. Here's my sword. Take it. And Beowulf's okay, I guess I'll take your shitty sword, bro. Yeah, I'll put some mileage on it.
Beowulf is rude. And then he goes off about this whole, like... At this point, I started getting kind of disillusioned with the story just because I was so tired of, like, all of the... I was listening to the Seamus Heaney translation of the poem on audiobook, and there was, like, this... it was, like, the audiobook skipped huge sections of the text, and I was, like...
Oh, what?
Yeah, and I was like, why don't I just watch some YouTuber summary? So I just went on Overly Sarcastic Productions and watched that instead. It's also like, he was skipping all this text, and he made damn sure, pun intended, not to skip any of the parts where it goes on for hours and hours about God stuff. And it's like everything in this is why I left the church, is that everything is like, Grendel is evil because God said so, and Beowulf is strong because God made him strong, and the ocean they sailed across was wet because God made it wet, and it's like, I get it.
The problem, the only problem that the story of Beowulf has is that it's been, like, stuck in translation for so long. It doesn't help that if you also translate it, like, you know, omitting and changing things.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's Beowulf just spouting off at the mouth about, like, a warrior wins war for a glorious death, which, like, it just feels like this weird authoritarian play. And it sounds it falls completely deaf on modern post-World War I, World War II ears.
Right. So we, but we essentially follow Beowulf and some bros to Grendel's mom's home.
Yeah.
In the Lake of Monsters, right?
Yeah, well, I was talking about religion forever. Grendel's mom's lake house has been found.
You delivered the same punch that Seamus did.
Yeah.
You spent way too much time on that topic.
Right. I am the Seamus Cuckoo. Oh no. So yeah. Grendel's mother lives in a body of water infested with all kinds of reptiles, which I took to mean in an old-timey sense reptiles and amphibians, and I actually looked up what kind of reptiles and amphibians might be found in Denmark.
Oh, pray tell. Wait, tell me more.
I will. We got slow worms. It's like a big...
Sorry, just right off the bat, it'd be crazy if Beowulf fought a slow worm. Like, of all the monsters I can think of, a slow worm is, like, the worst.
A slow worm is, like, a legless lizard.
A snake.
No.
Right?
No. It is a legless lizard. There is a difference between legless lizards and snakes.
Okay.
Snakes all have a common ancestor from, like, the Cretaceous period. Legless lizards, you know how, like, the lizard head is kind of shaped more, like, pointy than a snake?
I was wrong. Let's continue.
Okay. I was gonna go for a science segment, but whatever. We got viviparous lizards. Lizards that give live birth because it's so dang cold over there in cold time places. We got the adders. They bite. They're the only snakes that really bite people there.
A snake! I did it.
Okay.
I got one. 1 out of 2.
Pond turtles. They're like frogs with a helmet that lives in a small ocean called a pond. Is that simple enough for you?
No, that was the most complicated turtle explanation I've ever heard.
Jesus. All right. Frogs and toads, a couple kinds of newts, and basically just, like, terrifying. I'm really quaking in my greaves over legless lizards and the great crested newt.
Yeah, it's not a lot of fun.
No. And a lot of the story takes place on an island called Zealand, it is hypothesized, because they found the ruins of a great hall near the city of Lyra in Denmark on the island of Zealand, and it's thought that the Beowulf poet took inspiration from this hall when he was coming up with the idea for Hwaet.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, and I checked out some Zealand on Google Maps and stuff, because I was trying to find Grendel's mom's lake.
Okay.
I wanted to find the lake, and it mentions like all these cliffs and mountain trees and stuff. Adam, I don't know how much you know about Denmark. They don't really do mountains there. Like,
oh, don't they?
geographically, it's kind of the Florida of Europe.
Ah.
It's very, very flat and swampy, but cold and miserable, like Europe.
Or culturally, I think it feels more like the Texas of Europe.
I don't know about that. Well, okay. The time when Beowulf takes place, I think that's very on point.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean.
Yeah. I got you.
So, okay, boy oh boy, this is a big old lake, and it's full of little newts.
Yeah, full of reptiles and stuff. So Beowulf swims down for an entire day and doesn't even quite hit the bottom. And then who should snatch him up? That's right, it's Grendel's mom.
Yeah, a very scantily clad Angelina Jolie shows up.
Well, all right. So Grendel's mom catches Beowulf and takes him down to her cave full of treasure. Not a euphemism, literal. And there they wrestle. They fight.
Sorry. We've just found I like using the word wrestle and like discussing the oldest English poem. And he's got real Texas energy. You're right.
There you go. He does.
He's like, yeah, no, I don't bring no sword. I'm gonna just I got my two biggest weapons right here.
Well, he goes to use Unferth's sword, Hrunting, and he tries to stab Grendel's mom with it, and guess what? She's immune to non-magical weapons, I guess. Whoopsie-daisies.
Yeah. So
Just
that thing
shatters.
breaks right across her, yeah.
And then at this point, Grendel's mom has got a knife, and she's right over Beowulf, ready to strike, except in her treasure-filled cave, guess what's there? Like, just within arm's reach. It's a pail of water. I mean, a magic sword.
Gauntlets of ogre power.
Nope, magic sword.
A drift globe.
Magic sword, forged by giants.
Oh, that's a big sword.
It might not be, I'm not sure. It's
Is it like a dagger forged by giants?
Nope. It's forged by Jotun. Hi, it's forged by Jotun, Jontar. So they might be normal sized. We'll get into that actually. Giants aren't always giant.
We have a lot of stuff to get into this late in the episode.
We're not that well, whatever. And Grendel's mom gets absolutely stabbed and dies.
It's all I wanted to be.
It's all I wanted to be. And guess what also is there? Grendel's corpse. Beowulf is like, well, sweet. He chops off Grendel's head, and then the magic sword dissolves. So, Beowulf now swordless.
Right. Just got a big old hilt.
Just got a big old hilt. He just grabs as much treasure and monster trophies as he can take, and he just takes them all back to King Hrothgar and Heorot. And everything's cool for a bit. They sing lots of poems for a long time.
Well, I just rode this totally awesome wave underwater for a day.
Whoa. And then eventually time passes. Beowulf grows old and becomes king.
50 years later.
50 years later, he becomes king. And then a slave...
Then the Hobbit happens.
Then a Hobbit happens. Then
the Hobbit happens.
Right, the Hobbit happens, and then it ends. Oh, right. Well, good point. Okay, fair. A slave, which was a thing back then, steals a cup from a dragon's lair, and the dragon, oh boy, doesn't like that.
Yeah, he wakes up the next day, is like, doing his taxes, takes the inventory check, and boy oh boy, he's missing a cup.
I really wanted that cup, better destroy an entire, just burninate the countryside, and so he does that. And Beowulf has to go out with his friend Beowulf and stab a dragon. And Beowulf's fighting a dragon. Beowulf gets bit by a dragon. And, there's a huge gaping neck wound on him, but he's fine with it. And Beowulf finds a soft spot, stabs the dragon. Beowulf succumbs to the dragon's poison, checks out the treasure, dies, and they set up a funeral pyre for him, and the poem ends the way it begins, with a Viking funeral.
Mm-hmm. Did you remember the grade school version that we read on those old newspapers?
I do not.
And how that third act is different.
Well, we'll get in. Well, we're going to talk about how some different adaptations are a little different, but how is this one, this grade school version?
Beowulf is, like, not only was he a great king and stuff like that, he was like a beekeeper. So, like, when he's like an old man king, he's got all these like beehives and stuff like that.
Well, Beowulf means Beowulf, which is a colloquialism for bear.
Yeah, or bee hunter.
Right, which I feel like that doesn't mean he was like an apiarist. It just means he was strong like bear.
Right, but no, that's what this iteration of the story has been, which is weird because I've never seen that anywhere else. But yeah, no, he was a bee bro, and basically the plan was that his buddy, what's it, Willof?
Wiglaf is how it's spelled. I think it might be Wiglaf. I think there might be like some old timey times G sounds going on.
So yeah, Wiglaf basically threw a big ol' stick in the dragon's mouth and propped it open. And Beowulf lobbed a beehive into in the dragon's mouth, and that's how he ultimately killed him.
Goddamn, that doesn't sound. I'm sure they made that up. I'm flipping through my book right now, and I'm just gonna make the call now. That doesn't sound right. That sounds stupid. But who knows? Yeah. Maybe it was real. There's no way to know. Also, yeah, I did make this observation. Beowulf calls himself Beowulf, son of Ecgtheow. I don't think this story would be as popular today if the main character were his dad. Like, if the story were called Ecgtheow.
I thought we were going to go into a King Arthur thing, and his dad was being named, like, Teowulf.
Teo for like, Arthur?
Like one letter off. Like, Uther, father of Arthur.
Oh, I see.
Like Aragorn.
This is actually a similar time frame.
Is it now?
This story is said to take place, the movie, which we're going to talk about next, takes place in 507 CE, which King Arthur is supposed to be in the 5th or 6th century CE, I think. So right around then, yeah.
Yeah, let's get into the movie.
Right, so in 2007, they decided we don't need cameras anymore, we have technology. And so they made a 2020 video game.
Hi, my name is Bobby Zemeckis. I've traveled back to the future, but what I have not done is do no traveling at all and stay at home and make a movie. So they created, like you said, a 2020 video game called Beowulf out of fully CG. They
made a very, like, weirdly realistic CGI 2007 werewolf Beowulf movie. Whoa, my brain is melting.
Yeah, using the same technology as, like, the Polar Express, A Christmas Carol. You know what I'm talking about.
Right. And major deviations in this version of the story include, number one, is that Robert Zemeckis hated Beowulf and only signed on to the project after he was like, yeah, fuck yeah. This, like, it's a Beowulf diss track the whole way through. Unferth is the token Christian character who's trying to get everybody to convert to Christianity. And it's just like youth minister Unferth is my least favorite character in the movie. And I've written down here, I know someone who can help fight Grendel, said Unferth, somehow sitting backwards on a bench. He has long hair, he doesn't really follow the rules, and he likes having feasts with his friends too. His name? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. You know who else had a mother?
Jesus.
My boy JC.
Yeah. And Hrothgar, who otherwise is a disgusting pig man like everyone else in this film, says the gods will do nothing for us that we will not do for ourselves. And that was the point where I was like, okay, I'm going to like this movie. Thanks, Neil.
Yeah, penned by Neil Gaiman, who took some, as I'm sure you'll get into, took some creative direction in tying those three very... the third totally unrelated story together.
Yes, Neil Gaiman and
Roger Avery.
I kept wanting to say Tex Avery. That's not right. Yeah, that's impossible.
Yeah, Roger Avery.
Roger Avery. Yes, also a writer, also good. But
also has a small cage of birds.
Also has a small cage of birds, and so the main difference is Grendel's mother is hot in this one.
Yep. She's a real looker.
I've already said how much I liked Grendel's mom in the original poem. But in this, she's just iconic in every scene.
And the main difference is that instead of the story that you know of Beowulf going down to the bottom of the pond and stabbing her with a sword, he goes down and gets really tempted by her. And when I say tempted, I mean tempted.
Yes. Okay. So Grendel's mom is a snake demon that can take the glamour or the form of an Angelina Jolie with a long prehensile hair, who's covered in gold all the time.
Yeah.
And in the past, she had seduced King Hrothgar, and with him given birth to Grendel, who has this like disturbingly like sad human voice that just sounds like tortured.
Because he's voiced by Crispin Glover.
Right. And he has this like gross, like huge pulsating ear thing to explain why he was so upset about the merriment.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, he could probably just get that lanced. It looks like it's just the one ear. Like he could still hear, and then Hrothgar could fight battles with his troll son. Like that sounds dope. Just accept your troll son, Hrothgar. God. It's also worth noting that unlike in the original version, Grendel and his mother both explicitly say that they're not demons.
Mm.
Which, granted, is what a demon would say, but I'm inclined to believe them. Why would they lie?
The plot summary on Wikipedia is telling me otherwise.
Oh, is it?
He's literally saying that she's the last of the water demons.
Well, that's what they say in... That's what Wiglaf says when he shows up, like, to the lake. Like, oh, she must be a water demon. Like, we're really gonna trust Wiglaf's word on this? Okay, whatever, dude.
Okay, so, but yeah, please continue.
So, oh yeah, during the story about the swimming contest, Beowulf loses the swimming contest because he stopped to fuck a mermaid. But he made up a story about fighting sea monsters instead. And I was like...
Which is foreshadowing for what's about to happen.
Right, but also, like, that's a lateral move at best. Fucking a mermaid is a way better excuse. I don't know.
I don't think anyone in there is going to be like, oh, no way, man, that's gross.
Right, yeah.
That's why mermaids were folklorically invented, right?
Pretty much. I mean,
there's a bunch of horny sailors at sea that was like, oh, wait, you'll never guess what I saw. It was a fish, but you could,
Fuck it.
Yeah.
Also, Beowulf jumps out of a sea monster's eye and shouts, Beowulf.
Not for the... He also... and, like, I watched most of this movie in high school, like a separate grade than all these other times I read Beowulf. But I recall him because of all the Jeeves... not Jeeves. Yeah, all the proper waiters, all the jeers of my fellow students that he got naked a lot.
Oh, yeah.
In this movie, didn't he?
Well, a little. Well, I'll bring that up now. So, the queen starts playing her lute, and she's like that one dude at the party who brought his guitar. And she's just like, well, my husband is an old man who fathered a troll with a succubus lizard, and I'm in love with an asshole Viking. Anyway, here's Wonderwall. And she plays Wonderwall. And Grendel comes and starts tearing the place apart again. And Beowulf strips naked to fight him, because the movie's version of fighting him without armor or weapons is, no, I'm gonna get completely naked. And they proceed to go on this Austin Powers bullshit of just like...
That's a perfect way to describe it.
Yeah, like, it's really...
yeah.
I had, like, a piece of 2 a.m. Just perfect wisdom here. I wrote, come on, you can't have your cock and eat it, too. But, like,
yeah, no,
I knew 2 things about this movie.
He's going all around the meat hall, and, like, people are, like, drinking horns of ale at the right angle.
No, not even. Like, after everybody leaves and goes to sleep, except his men, like, he gets naked in front of just them and the queen, and then she leaves. And, yeah.
Because she didn't sign up for this.
Then he does a Matrix fight with Grendel, where, like, they make really damn sure they zoom in on Wiglaf stabbing Grendel's unbegenitaled crotch, and not one shot of CGI Beowang in this movie. I've also written here, pathetic. cowardly, disgraceful, abominable. These are all true.
John Thundergun has hung dong in every chapter of this saga, and I just watched 90 minutes of one, and yet not one hang.
Well, I think that the studio was thinking the gratuitous nudity was maybe a bit much.
Fuck you.
Bullshit! Bullshit!
This is exactly the type of Hollywood bullshit that America is sick of.
Hollywood's completely out of touch.
So anyway, after Beowulf refuses to hang dong, Grendel goes back to his mother's house to die, as we've discussed, and they actually show it, and I was crying over that. Like,
it's a sad moment.
It's played very sad, and it is very sad. Like, Grendel's mom is very, like, gentle and nice to him and maternal, and she calls him Gren, and she, like, caresses his face kind of with her weird long tentacle thing as he dies.
Yeah, that's what you get with some Neil Gaiman. You get a little more sympathy and story in your villains.
And she also just, like, her attack on Heorot is preceded by a plaintive primal revenge cry. And that was the point where I realized that they're really not going for the she's a demon angle.
No, yeah, she's more pointed in her revenge.
No, here's the other thing. Demons in Judeo-Christian mythology, they don't have parents. They don't have a mother and father. They are just created by God as fallen angels or whatever. Or they're created by God as regular angels and then they fall, I guess. That'd be weird if God was like, I need some people to fight.
Which is a little weird because they also have that Cain connection in the original, don't they?
They do, yeah.
But anyway, so...
Well, that's what it's the result of, like, adding Christian elements to a pagan, an existing story.
Sure. Let's get to the meat of it here.
Right, so yes, while Beowulf is sleeping, Grendel's mom comes to him in his dreams and tries to seduce him, and then she murders everybody and hangs them from the rafters except for Beowulf and one woman who's left behind to scream so that Beowulf can understand how much he's failed. And I've written here, fuck yes, incredible, amazing, iconic, perfect in every way, all one sentence, no punctuation.
Great. So yeah, Beowulf is off to the big puddle with a couple of the bros.
Yeah, he goes off to the big puddle with Wiglaf, and after they cowardly refused to let him hang dong, I was convinced that, like, maybe they're not going to sexualize Angelina Jolie in this movie.
Oh, you spoke too soon.
I was wrong.
Yeah, no, they got her for a reason.
Yeah, no, they did. They really did, and I've written down here several notes. Why is she speaking with a Russian accent? Why do I extremely not care? I am in love with the high heel feet. I know people make fun of them, but I'm completely here for it. She's got like natural high heels built into her feet.
Yep, that's the late aughts for you.
Which Neil Gaiman pointed out that there is a history of female demons having weird feet, like bird feet or hooves or backwards.
Word to the wise, do not call Neil Gaiman out on not doing his homework.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, there. I've seen many accounts across Twitter of him just letting loose on someone that thinks he did wrong.
Absolutely, no. I really think that it was a good decision, and she does a thing where she's talking with Beowulf, and just instead of Beowulf trying to stab her with the sword, like, she just kind of walks through the sword, and at one point she grabs the sword in a very interesting way until it melts, and she starts seducing Beowulf in this way that's like, you're the one they call Beowulf, you will be a great king one day, and like, what she's saying isn't really landing with me, because obviously I can't be seduced in the same way that some asshole Viking dude is, but the way she's saying it, I would do literally anything that this demon asked me to do, with full knowledge that he's a snake demon. In fact, scratch that makes it better.
Yes, so,
I'm just going to keep reading my notes here. The real problem is how to keep my thirst down to a dull roar for the episode. I can't possibly drool into a microphone for 50 minutes. I have failed to do this.
No, to be fair, this is the first time I am on your side.
Oh, yeah. Hey, welcome.
Yeah, no, I recall Angelina Jolie Grendel's mom from like when I was 15. Yeah, she had it going on.
Absolutely. And yeah, Grendel's mom seduces Beowulf, and
somehow they get down to business. I don't know how that's possible with Beowulf's void between his legs.
right, yeah.
That we have no proof that anything was possible.
Imagine the fucking audacity of censoring a man's genitalia with a woman's naked ass. How fucking double standards is that?
Right. But
anyway, so the movie cuts forward to 50 years in the future, as the poem does, and Beowulf immediately offers the sizzling hot take of Jesus is why we don't have heroes anymore. And it turns out the dragon is the product of Beowulf and Grendel's mother's union. Like, this is just what she does, is she has sex with a king, and then a monster.
Yes, hinted at before with Hrothgar and his connection to Grendel. So yeah, that's what she does, what she dang does, and so then now it's Beowulf versus his son that he doesn't like.
Right, the dragon, who can also turn into a golden man, which I thought it was very bold that the third act villain of this movie was a living Oscar.
Right. So Beowulf thwarts the Academy Awards.
Right, yes. And Grendel's mother leaves for most of... After she seduces Beowulf, she's not in the movie anymore until one point in Act 3, where she just mentions him and introduces kind of the dragon. Like, she's just standing in a cave in the dark, and then, like, the dragon shoots a fireball out from behind her and starts, like, bursting out and destroying everything. I've written here, the absolute queen, the Dracarys we all fucking deserved after season 8. Yes, queen. It was about 3 a.m. by the time I was watching this. And also, that's how I would act when I was completely well-rested. I'm not gonna make excuses. What am I, Beowulf? I don't think so.
No. A big action set piece of him being chased by the dragon, and then they get into a final conflict with it.
It's a great final fight. It's maybe one of the best dragon... I wrote A++ dragon fight. No complaints. 0. The complaints. I have none. I really don't. Like,
one of these times we have to publish like your notes and like the show notes.
I should. That's a Patreon. You know what? I've got a lot of them saved from different episodes. I think that's a Patreon exclusive once people start caring enough about this show that we can have a Patreon.
Yeah, that's not a bad plan. But yeah, no, he A++.
So you remember how the fight scene goes, right?
Yeah, he Wiglaf throws the stick in his mouth, then Beowulf chucks a big old thing of bees in it, right?
Nope.
Okay.
Adam, I just realized where you stopped watching the movie.
Yeah, right.
We're gonna move on.
I stopped it when you see the golden like dragon boy body, and he's like, "Tell my father, I'll see him later." Like that. That's.
Oh yeah, that's Skyrim. Oh god.
But I not for lack of trying. It's nowhere on streaming right now, and that's when we stopped watching it in high school, which is weird because we watched all the naked Angelina Jolie bits.
Speaking of her, after Beowulf succumbs to his wounds from the dragon fight. Self-inflicted, I would say.
Yeah. Because
he does chop his own arm off and, like, dangle from, like, his own chainmail in an attempt to reach the dragon's heart. It's a great scene.
Hi, my name's Neil Gaiman. Have you heard of this thing called a callback?
Right. Hello, I'm Neil Gaiman. Welcome to my fantastical world of callbacks. And now I'm Peter Jackson. And, so when Beowulf is on the funeral pyre, as he's burning and Wiglaf looks on, Grendel's mother appears in the ocean, kisses Beowulf goodbye, and then, when she has no reason to, which I feel like is another sign that she's more pagan in nature than demonic. Like, she was just seducing Beowulf for kicks, but also, like, I feel like maybe she actually felt something.
Not only is she, like, the last of the water demons, like, this seems to be her means of...
quote-unquote.
Yeah. This seems to be her means of, like, remaining relevant in this world. Seducing like world leaders and having child by them that they are kind of paralyzed with guilt into not getting rid of her.
Well, then Wiglaf is looking on at Beowulf's funeral pyre, and she just appears in the ocean and kind of looks at Wiglaf, and Wiglaf finally puts, like, all the 2 and 2 and 2 together. Because he's been denied, like, Beowulf keeps trying to tell him what he did, and Wiglaf's like, no, you're Beowulf. You're the best. I know what you're going to say. You didn't do it. It didn't happen. Don't worry about it. I'm going to sing a better song for you throughout the ages. And he keeps saying, no, don't, but he does. And Wiglaf gives Grendel's mother a look, and Wikipedia calls it disgust. Buddy, I know that look.
It's not disgust, is it?
That look says, oh, fuck, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. She's I don't blame her.
I blame her.
Oh yeah, no.
I don't blame him.
I don't blame him.
Yeah. But, so, anyway, after I saw the movie, that's how it ends.
Yeah.
After I saw the movie, I looked up a picture of what her snake demon form looks like, because you really only see it in reflections and stuff. And based on that, my answer is yes. I'm absolutely still attracted to her in her natural form. And I think the real moral of the story is that love can be anything. Love can be between a mother and her weird demon troll son. Love can be between an asshole Viking and the concept of getting naked for no reason. Love can be between a podcast co-host and a snake demon. And if nothing else, Neil Gaiman taught me that. That's what Grendel's mom has got going on, Charlie Brown.
Oh, I don't think we can take this any further than that. Are you ready to go to the final rating place?
I think I am. But, I mean, oh boy, I did a lot of research on different Norse gods and stuff that she could be, and we are really far into our time, so there's no time.
No, we should definitely talk about which Norse god you think she could be.
Honestly, I think it's more impactful if I say it could be, one of the Disir. It could be Ran, the sea goddess who's married to Aegir, the Jotun. It could be Nerthus, the fertility goddess, described by Tacitus, who is actually from the same island. It could be Gefjon, who has a very interesting Wikipedia article about possible textual connections to Grendel's mother. It could be Angrabotha, the Jotun who gave birth to Loki's 3 monstrous children. It could be Mbala, who is like the Norse equivalent of Eve. Maybe there's a Cain connection there. She could be a simple Neck, which is the name of a kind of Germanic/Norse river siren. And there's just like a whole host of barely mentioned Norse mother goddesses it could be. There's Sin, the goddess of defensive refusal. No, it's not. Why would you say that? And honestly, there's a lot of different things it could be. Oh, Loki is on my list.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
They're always pulling shit like this.
Yeah, that's a real Loki energy.
Loki is canonically a parent of monsters and a mother in at least one of those cases. I feel like maybe, like, after, Christianization is coming, Loki decides I'm gonna fuck with some Vikings. That's possible. But I think the real, more impactful thing is she is a forgotten entity of Norse mythology that is so forgotten that even her name is kind of gone. And again, like kind of an Excalibur sort of way, like we talked about during the Jack episode. Her name is dying, her deityhood is dying, and she basically needs to change domains quick to stay alive.
Yeah, she's her, even though her her magical powers are like fading in this world of a Christian god, she still is a diplomat at heart in a way, and she'll play some powerful games of politics to stay in power, potentially pushing people. Yeah, that's it.
Are you aware, Adam?
Yes.
That alliteration is a major component of Anglo-Saxon poetry, such as Beowulf.
You know what? That's exactly what I've been trying to teach everyone this whole episode.
Really?
And you merely thought I was being annoying. No, there's a lesson to be learned here, folks.
There's always a lesson to be learned here, and that's that Adam doesn't miss.
This, yeah, I do want it to be said that I began my evening before the podcast with a plate of pork and a can of ale. So I don't like ale either.
You did that entirely for the raw Anglo-Saxon power.
Yeah, and I can feel it. I really want to get naked and, fight a monster by ripping off part of his body.
I have some I have some contacts you could maybe call.
Okay.
So speaking of that, I've realized something kind of important about these past couple episodes that we've been doing.
Oh, yes, this is an important trend. Maybe clever listeners have caught on. Eagle-eared listeners might notice a pattern.
Yeah, ever since the Bigfoot episode, I've been just on a weird monster fucking trend with let's run down the list, shall we? With Slender Man, skip Jason, dragons, skip the Phoenix, skip the mole people really. Mummies, Jack was pretty thirsty for the devil in that one. Ghosts and aliens, yep. Frankenstein, yep. Kitsune, I felt like I avoided that one. Indominus, that's either a dinosaur or my daughter, you sick fuck. Urukai, yep. World Turtle, was gonna, then Adam made it our dad. Ko the Face Stealer, yep. Kool-Aid Man, managed to avoid it. Grendel's mother fell in just face first. And, I realized why. In the Bigfoot episode, I was cursed by Robert W. Morgan.
That's what W stands for.
It is. And what I did was I broke the pledge, Adam. I broke the Bigfoot pledge.
Oh no, you didn't.
I pledged never to use the information in the book to find Bigfoot. Especially not to find the secret Bigfoot city where Bigfoot lives. And I sat and I meditated and I opened my third eye and I realized there's probably a city somewhere in the United States called Bigfoot. And wouldn't you know it, census designated location, Bigfoot, Texas.
Oh no.
Population 450.
Do you think that it was named that way because Bigfoot was spotted there, or because, like, the founder had a Bigfoot?
That's an interesting... I like that Weird West story, but,
Thanks.
Yeah, no, I have used the information in the Bigfoot Field Observer's Guide, or whatever the fuck it's called.
Bigfoot Field Observer's Manual?
Bigfoot Field Observer's Manual. Go check out episodes 10 and 11. It's 2 hours, but it's a good 2 hours, and you can just listen to one of them, really.
Yeah, you can not listen to this episode and listen to those two instead.
They're frankly really good episodes. I'm not disagree.
Although I don't think you can not listen to this episode at this point.
Right. Well, you know what? I learned something from the experience of being cursed.
Oh, what's that?
Monster fucking is a sometimes food.
You can't do it every week.
You can't do it every week, but you know what? Once in a while, I think it's worth it to open your heart to something that maybe would be kind of weird to open your heart to otherwise, like a snake demon, or a internet demon, or really just any kind of demon, or maybe just something gross like an urukai. Because, everybody deserves love. Love is love.
Look, the pitch of our show is that we're on a quest to find monster right.
Right.
And we will not stop, and we will use every tool in our arsenal to discover the true identity of monster rights. This is just it's a perfectly reasonable phase.
Anyway, that's why I'm giving Grendel's mom a perfect 10 out of 10. Because even besides the fact that she can shapeshift into Angelina Jolie with a supermodel CGI body, because she was pregnant at the time that she was filming. Fun fact. I googled it. But even aside from that, she's a good parent. She's a responsible person. She's powerful. She's responsible. She cares. She's passionate. All she does is, ruin things for, people that are otherwise awful, acts compassionately, and takes sweet revenge. She's awesome. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm definitely a big fan. I'm not going to give her a perfect score, maybe like a 9 out of 10. She's just about there. I just think she's almost not enough of a monster for me. You know, I think she's real. Like, you know, I think she's real human in a little bit too much of a way. You want some of that ratio, of course, but I think it almost outweighs her monstrous nature. So,
well, she's a monster in that she's non-human and sentient, but
right. However, I'm looking for a little. She's not a perfect match for me, but she's on the right path, and definitely one of our best monsters to date.
Absolutely. Well, it's I guess it's just a competition between me and a bunch of complete asswipes in the YouTube comment section.
Yep. So in that case, I hope you've enjoyed our time going way back to before the words.
Yeah. And probably don't let yourself be seduced by a lake demon.
I would not recommend it.
Or Lake Jotun.
Don't get into a situation where that's a possibility.
Don't get into a situation where that's a possibility. Or you know what? I changed my mind about that. Do it.
You won't.
Don't be a coward like the people that hid Beowulf's song from us.
You won't.
I will. Grendel's mom has got it going on. 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 She's all I want, and I've waited for so long. Grendel, can't you see? You're just not the monster for me. I know it might be wrong, but I'm in love with Grendel's mom. Oh, I'm in love with Grendel's mom. Oh, wait a minute. Grendel, can't you see? You're just not the monster for me. I know it might be wrong, but I'm in love with Grendel's mom.